Welcome to Naked Spirituality, a video blog series of Sacred Attention Therapy and the Center for Human Awakening. My name is Rob Meager. For more information about Sacred Attention Therapy, the Center for Human Awakening, and our video blog series, please visit our website at www.centerforhumanawakening.com, and center is spelled C-E-N-T-E-R. These video blogs support one of the Center's core activities, which is collaboration and partnership with individuals, communities, and healing centers, practicing personal growth and spiritual development. And our guest today is Joseph Bernard, and we'll be speaking with Joseph about his work through Explore Life Coaching. And I'd now like to invite Joseph to come on screen.
Hi, Rob. How are you today?
Hello, Joseph. It's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you and nice to be with you.
Thank you. Same. It is same for me.
I'm calling you from Ottawa, Canada, but I understand I'm reaching you in the beautiful west coast of the U.S.
Yes, on the Oregon coast. I live about 5 miles out of town. It's a rural part of the coast, and it's a beautiful place.
It sounds like it. I have not visited, but I've heard many wonderful things about that part of the country.
Yes. We just had a big eclipse event on.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I sat across the street on the picnic table over there and watched the eclipse. It was nice.
Beautiful. I've experienced it once in my life, and it is quite an event to be part of and witness.
Yes, it was quite exciting.
Your work through Explore Life Coaching, there are some products that are offered through your website, for example, books, podcasts, and videos, which we'll get to in a bit. But I want to begin by talking about what feels like a predominant focus of the offerings through your website, and that is your life coaching.
Right.
And the title of your healing work, at least as expressed through the website, is Explore Life Coaching. So I'd like to begin by asking you to talk a little bit about that life coaching practice. And to begin, how would you describe that coaching to someone who's watching and listening? How would you describe that coaching that you do?
Well, it's always a unique experience with each person I work with. What I like to do is sit in the presence of another person, or even in this way, be in the presence as you and I are now, and have a conversation about what's going on in their life and where they'd like to go, and then be present to my inner guidance about that, and be present to their inner guidance about that, and we deepen that conversation, so we get to really even the deeper place where they want to go, because usually the surface of where they want to go is step one, and then step two, we explore that, and then we put together a plan full of joy, because it has to have joy in it, and aliveness, and it's got to be vibrant and full of imagination. And we put that together, and then I'm there in support for them. Along the way, asking the question, giving the support, boosting them, standing on the sidelines, cheering for them, however they want to see that, whatever works for them.
Mm-hmm. And who is the coaching intended to serve? So is there a profile of someone who specifically that is tailored to, or that your services cater to?
You know, I think it's really for people in transition in life. They're at the point where they're going, is this what life is about? I feel a call for something more, something deeper, something more expanded. I feel in me there's unexpressed parts of me. And then that's the part where I like to say, okay, let me help you get there. Let me help you explore that, because that's what I'm really interested in myself. And oftentimes there's a spiritual component about it, or a meaning component about it, life meaning, what's it about, those kinds of things. And that's really the juice for me and for the people I'm working with. There's a lot of aliveness in that. So it's maybe people getting towards in their point in their career, they're going, there's something more, or even as they transition out of career and then thinking what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, because it's still full of dynamic possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Now, you mentioned that you often work with people at this point of transition or
right.
transformation in their life. Does
Yeah.
that, Joseph, translate into a typical age demographic? Or do you find that you work with people spanning the lifespan of
Yeah.
life?
I think the lifespan is closer, but it's really, I don't think I mean, it's more dynamic when you've been out in the world and doing some stuff for a while. Your career's going
Yeah.
and you have some, or it's not going or whatever, and you have some sense, okay, now I need to examine and go inward and think, okay, there's something more to life, and I know that. So any place along that spectrum, it's probably not going to happen at 19, but I'm not saying it's not, but it's more likely to happen at 30 or 28, 30, somewhere around that, or
Yep.
50 or
Yeah.
65. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I work with all ages.
Okay. Now, what could someone expect, or what will someone experience if they began working with you? What's it like?
Well, it's like having a person that brings joy every day to your life. In that I kind of run on joy, and I'm free. So to have that kind of the the person that isn't going, but the person
Yeah.
that goes, all right, how can we have fun doing this? How can we let go? How can
Right.
we stretch into something in a way that's with the breath and letting go and stretching
Mm.
into it? Or how can we just do something that's really alive? To me, that's the keys. Is it,
Mm.
is there joy in it? Is there aliveness in it? Is there a connection to the world around you in it? If it's a little isolated struggle, that's not where you want to be. You want to be in the expansion.
Mm.
So it's about expanding. That's really for me the interesting piece, because I know through my own expansion what that feels like. I know in my own sense of unity with all things what that feels like, and what the freedom of that is, and the joy and the energy of that.
Hmm.
So this is what
Now,
I want to help people find.
now you alluded earlier that you will work with people in this medium, via
Yes,
Skype or video conference. I'm also assuming that you welcome to work with people in person, on site there,
yes.
um, in your office, in your home.
Yeah, in my home, and I like the idea of doing intense work. Like if somebody wanted to come for like a 3-day intensive where we get together, in the morning,
Hmm.
in the afternoon, in the evening, and just do
Right.
some really focused work. That's
Yeah.
really exciting to me too.
Okay.
Um, I like the more focused work because I'm in the orientation that when people are ready, we can put a lot of juice
Hmm.
into it and things will
Right.
start popping, start moving.
Now, how did you come to offer this healing work, Joseph? I mean, what brought you to offer this to
Mhm.
humanity?
It was my own life experiences. I mean, I've been a therapist for a long time, and um, I worked a lot with addicts, um, and with people in stressful situations, and I helped them through all that. And I really wanted to get. It was my own transition, my own life thing of thinking this is where I really want to bring my focus now, because it fits for what I understand about the human journey. And
Hmm.
what's curious too is that it seems like a really ripe time in our human history that people are asking deeper questions of themselves.
Hmm. Hmm. It is an interesting time indeed, is it not?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a part of me that's a very social activist, and so I'm really,
Okay.
I mean, there's somewhat of a little agenda that the more people that wake up, the better the whole world's going to be anyway. So
Hmm.
I'm happy to encourage anybody who wants to awaken
Right.
from any struggles that they're in, and free themselves up, because in that freedom, everybody's liberated.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I mentioned early on that there are some products, if you want to call it that, that are offered through the website. And I want to spend a little bit of time talking about your books, because there's one in particular that when I looked at it, I thought it was just wonderful. Understanding that I have not read them yet, Joseph, but looking at them on the website. Now, there's three that are featured or offered through the website. The first is Finding the Voice of the Soul, a bold path inviting consciousness and compassion. Can you tell us a little bit about that book?
Yeah, it's really my favorite little book. I think it's one everybody should read. Of course, that's my bias. It's a pretty short little read.
Okay.
And what it's about is really distinguishing the voice of the ego from the voice of the soul, or you could call it heart, or whatever your spirit, whatever term you want to use. I like soul because it just seems to fit for me.
Sure.
But it seems to me a key component in life today is can you separate that voice in you, the voice of the ego, which has always been the source of all suffering in human life, from the deeper voice, which is the soul, or even the heart, or the gut instinct, or the intuition, that higher knowing within you. Because if you can tune into that, it will change your whole life. And that's part of my coaching too, is helping people tune in and to trust that. When you can trust that inner knowing, you're free to create a whole different kind of life experience.
And it mentions in describing the book on the website that having the voice of your soul showing you the way will fill your life with joy, open your heart to an even richer expression, help you set yourself free of any self-imposed limits, and lift your life from ordinary to extraordinary.
Yeah. Isn't that a great line?
It's
I think I wrote it myself.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Anyway, it really touches me. That book, I really, anybody who wants that, if they don't want to pay for it, they don't have the money. I mean, it's real readable, but I'll send them a file of it.
Right. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, the second book is Awaken, 100 Questions to Expand Your Mind and Open Your Heart.
What a great idea, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, who doesn't want to expand their mind and open their heart? I mean, that's the kind of people I work with. That's what they want to do. That's why they come and seek out a life coach who has that kind of bigger view.
Sure. Where did the 100 questions come from, Joseph?
They came from me. Just sat down and wrote them out. And they're, as a therapist for a long time, one of my gifts is that I'm always guided in my questions.
Yeah.
They come through me in that interaction as you and I are having. The questions arise out of that connection. And they're usually questions that are sometimes deeper than me and deeper than the person next, and we just work them out together in some ways,
Right. And isn't it wonderful how when we are with the other, those questions can just flow quite naturally? Yeah,
they arise, and that's from trusting inside, and that's my hope, is that the people that I work with will trust inside those own questions, and that understanding, that wisdom that arises in them. Yeah.
And the last of the three books, the one that I mentioned, how I smiled when I read about it, it's called The World According to Gus, a novel of importance. Can you tell us a little bit about Gus and this World According to Gus?
Yeah. So I was raised in 12 years of Catholic school, so I got a belief, or I was taught an understanding of who God was, and a lot of people have an understanding of who God is, but there's so many different views about that, and so I think a little bit God has gotten a bad rap or a bad reputation because of what everybody says God told them to do and all this stuff. So I decided to write. There's a thing called the Novel Writing Month in November. It happens all over, and you write a novel in a month, and you put in, it's about 1,700 words a day, something like that. And this came out of that, but it came out of it was like I sat down to write it, and the whole idea came to me like that, and I just did the typing. Or put it on my keyboard. It came to me really clearly.
Yeah.
And it's a story about God. Gus is God, but Gus means guiding universal spirit. But God said, it's not he or she, so I get tripped up on Gus said, I am not who everybody's told I am. So it's a novel about, he's coming through a sports writer because it seemed like guys could use this information pretty badly, pretty quick. And then it's the blog. Everybody starts reading it because it's direct and everybody can feel the power of the words. And eventually, it claims to be the only true words directly from Gus/God ever written. So that's a little bit on the lighter side of things. My brother, who has a certain strong points of view about religion, he said something to me about that, and I said, John, it's a novel.
Right.
You'll probably be watching this later and go. But anyway, yeah. So it invites people to see what I would imagine to see the divine source energy or great spirit in a different way.
Right.
In a loving, supportive way, which to me only makes sense, that whatever that is, I just know it's greater than me, and I know I didn't create the universe, so someone did, some source, it came from somewhere.
Right.
So this is a story about Gus, the guiding universal spirit who was in charge of that.
I just loved, I loved the wisdom. I loved the creativity behind it as well. I just thought it was wonderful.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun to do, and it was a number of rewrites to get it so it really had a good flow. But it really, the whole time, a lot of times the sentences didn't need to be touched because but to put it into some kind of form took a little while.
Of course. Joseph, there's a few, probably many more, but there was a few beautiful, beautiful quotes that I want to share with those listening and watching that are offered through your website. And this one comes from the About page, so describing, yourself and what you do. And you say at the top of the page, quote, "Your thoughts are not who you are. You are the awareness that can watch your thoughts and feelings and be present to the moment."
Yeah.
What's the significance of that? Your thoughts are not who you are.
Yeah, most people really think that they are their thoughts, or they actually think their thoughts are real. Throw that in there, in the whole talk, the whole discussion about what we're talking about right now. Thoughts are just thoughts. They're just words that pass through our head. And it's really important to note that those words don't necessarily say who you are or define you. Awareness is what defines us. So, and I'm a practitioner of mindfulness and meditation, and I like to remind people that the thoughts are just things that arise in us, and we can observe them. We can see what they mean. I mean, just like this conversation that you and I are having, sometimes it's nice to have conversations out loud because then you step out of the noise in your head and you actually see what you're thinking. And oftentimes when I have conversations, deeper conversations, I hear myself saying things, oh, is that the way I see? That's the way I see things now. So there's a freeing up when you don't get caught in the thoughts.
On the blog page, here's what the quote is at the top. It says, one truth you must consider. You are only an expansive, successful, joyous, peaceful, and free as you truly love and accept yourself. One truth you must consider. You are only as expansive, successful, joyous, peaceful, and free as you truly love and accept yourself.
Yeah, isn't that a great idea? I mean, isn't it time that we put aside so much program that we all got that was judgmental? I mean, ego-driven, all this stuff, people trying to control us, trying to teach us how to avoid suffering or whatever their goal was. And just be comfortable with who you are now and love yourself. I mean, really, if you don't love yourself, it's time to do that today.
Mm-hmm.
Stop messing around with all these. I mean, those thoughts within your own head aren't even yours. They're learned. They're learned recordings.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll end as a continuation of that sharing with a quote from the Connect page. You say, "Today is a good day to listen to your heart's knowing and your soul's infinite wisdom."
Yeah. You know, the heart is really an amazing component of us, and I mean heart center. And it's nice that the physical heart is doing fine too, but the heart center is a great knowing, and people don't trust that enough. And the level of soul, which I think most people can connect with, there's a part of us that was before this lifetime. There's a part of us that is not captured in our drama here, and that same part goes on after. However you look at it, there's some part of us that continues. And when you're in that sweet space of that infinite part, you can step back and not be pulled into the drama. You can just witness it. It's so freeing to witness things and not be pulled into the drama of it. And it's freeing and joyous. I find that being in the heart and the soul are joyous places to hang out.
And I think there's a wisdom saying that goes something like, when we can step back and be an observer of life, we can begin to understand the wisdom inherent in it. Yeah.
It's always nice to step back and take that.
Now,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Joseph.
It's just so freeing to kind of deconstruct all the barriers that we have around us of how we should be and what's appropriate and all that, and just let it all go and be free. I mean, to have this conversation is a gift. It's just, it's the divine in all of us. Let that be present in your life.
Now, if someone wanted to step back for a moment and wanted to get in touch with you, Joseph, and they wanted to reach out to you, how would they do that? Emails, through your website?
Yeah, there's a couple ways. The website works really well, and there's two different website addresses, but the one I use on the website, the present one, is www.explorelifeprocoaching.com.
Okay.
And the other one is just explorelifeblog.com.
Okay.
Both will get you to the same spot.
Okay.
And if you want to reach me by email, it's a really simple one: Joseph with the number 4 and Peace, Peace, at gmail.com.
Wonderful.
Peace,
Indeed. A nice place to leave it. Peace, indeed. Thank you, Joseph.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us. Take care.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.